excited to spend the weekend in
This over,
Indianapolis.
Matt?
No, you don't do either one.
I don't do either one,
Dale's
no.
got this one, Scott has this one.
Great.
Sorry, I need to be filled in.
Jill, am I doing both?
Did you have any
No.
downtime
Just
though,
a
Alan?
second.
Do anything or not really?
No,
We're talking about these. Yeah.
just during the interview.
Hello. Hello.
So A is gonna go
Are you kidding?
Well, I didn't make it, I told you I didn't make it to Florida.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
It was.
okay.
Yeah.
But that was a lot more snow.
Okay, so, and this one in
Yeah,
particular.
probably good.
Allison,
And
then
then
it's
I
gonna
was
go to
and I was
Heather,
like,
and then it's gonna go to
yeah,
Ann.
that would have been.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm just
You've
trying
been
to get to that
disappointed.
14-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go to Matt.
How's he feeling?
Okay.
And your mom too, right?
better, yeah.
Got it.
She
Okay.
does day to day, really. This is one day she's like, I'm good. I did tell her, I'm like, so I think, you haven't bounced back from before the fall.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's fine. She's like, absolutely not. This is not a new normal. I'm like, okay. She's like, I want to get back to the pool. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's probably what keeps her going,
Right,
right?
right.
Yeah.
She's going up to Clarity, the physical
For
therapy.
physical therapy.
She's not gonna give up.
That's good for her.
Yeah.
I just saw somebody posted, it said, keep doing the things you don't want to lose the ability to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that is so true.
So
Like,
many.
Give
me my CD.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I finally
Okay.
started playing
Okay,
all the
great.
like New York Times games. So Casey's got everybody doing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is really keeping me sharp.
Yes.
Like, I'm really enjoying it. But it is like, it's that thing, right? It's your mind. It's your,
Yep. My mom says, let me do what I can do while I can do it.
yeah,
Whatever it is.
that's good.
Yeah. Hey.
So my watch says it's 7 degrees, so it's really.
Oh, my car only said 4, but I didn't have
Okay.
many, I wasn't driving before.
Okay.
I was just sitting in the driveway. So
Okay.
maybe it's just not warmed up. The temperature gauge hadn't caught up, maybe.
I walked out the other morning and I was like, oh, it's warmer, and it was like 8.
Yeah. Well, the days when there hasn't been any wind,
I know,
you
it
can be out
feels-
briefly and it doesn't feel that bad.
Yes.
And you're like, oh,
Okay,
this isn't
good,
that bad.
good.
Oh,
Gosh.
then after walking like 2 blocks or a block, you're like, oh, well, I guess it is.
It's funny, after a deep freeze, a few degrees feels,
Right? It seems like it makes a difference.
we're in a deep freeze for a while, it doesn't look like it's letting up. So, I was saying, someone said double digits next week. It's only 6 or 7 days away. This is a tough time, because these are the sad days of January to me.
I know. No, we haven't
we can
really
get
had
through
like,
it.
I mean, I guess there was some time this afternoon it was kind of sunny a little bit, like.
I'm trying to get videos done of the house, and the video people are like, it's gonna look horrible. Like, you have to wait till at least next week for it, sunny. Like, there's just gonna be smoke coming out of everything. Like, that's not gonna video well. Let's see. Okay.
All right, 7 o'clock. Everybody ready? All right, good evening. Welcome to the January 26th, 2026 meeting of the Village of Western Springs Village Board of Trustees to honor our nation's heroes and especially to honor the individuals who serve and protect our community. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. May we have the roll call, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Here.
Trustee Chen.
Here.
Trustee Fink.
Here.
Trustee Lewis.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Naraki.
Here.
All present.
All right, thank you very much. The next item is the approval of the meeting minutes, which if anybody, unless anybody has any changes or concerns, those will be on the omnibus tonight. Any issues with the January 12th minutes? All right, very good. So we will move on. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Don't believe I have anybody here. All right, Very good. We'll move on to our committee reports, beginning with General Government. Trustee Chen?
No report.
Thank you very much. Moving then to Finance Committee. Trustee Martin?
We met, we have no official report. We're doing ongoing financial management, reviewing all village fees and rates, sort of an annual exercise. And we're also doing sort of post-budgeting follow-up of things that didn't make the 2026 budget, as we talked about in strategic planning, to make the board aware of those things. And then we have a monthly report at the end.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, Planning and Zoning Committee. Trustee Fink?
All right, first item is the vendor contract with Tesco Associates. This was discussed last week and our last meeting, and it's on the omnibus. It's the village's current comprehensive plan was updated in 2003. It's been a strategic goal to update this plan. And last fall, there was a request for proposals, and Tesco Associates were chosen for that. The next two items were also previously discussed and are on the omnibus. These updates are revise the development control ordinances to ensure they're consistent with the current development practices and the village downtown market assessment, as well as regulations for residential beekeeping. And the last one is about medical cannabis, and I think that will be discussed in other business.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Moving to Public Works and Water. Trustee Lewis?
I have 4 items. I'll discuss at our last meeting and that are on the omnibus for consideration tonight. The first is a vendor contract with Wigan Water Technologies to replace some reverse osmosis membranes at the water treatment plant. The second is a vendor contract with Hawkins, Inc. for water treatment chemicals that will be used at the water treatment plant. The third is a vendor contract with National Power Rotting Corporation for the 2026 Catch Basin and Inlet Cleaning Program. And the last item from our committee on the omnibus tonight is a bid waiver and vendor contract with Custom Filtration Solutions to purchase cartridge filters that are needed at the water plant. And again, we discussed all of those at our last meeting, and that's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And Properties and Rec. Trustee Naraki?
Thanks, President Ralph. Trustee Lewis has me beat with 4 items on his omnibus agenda. I only have 3 that we've also previously discussed tonight. So for tonight to review them, one is the amendment to the Southeast Association for Special Parks and Recreation Joint Agreement. This is to kind of look ahead for our contribution to give to them, so we can get our financials in order quicker. The next item is for the surplus declaration. We have 1 5-file drawer cabinet and 1 2-drawer file cabinet that we will be disposing of. And then the last item is the vendor contract with Advanced Tree Care, Inc. for the 2026 tree inventory updates. Advanced Tree Care for the tree inventory updates in 2026 is our lowest cost bidder, and have an amount not to exceed $29,000. And that concludes my report for tonight. If anybody has any questions, doesn't have any questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, Public Health and Safety. Trustee Avakian?
Thank you. As previously discussed, we are proposing the Greenest Region Compact Resolution, which I think you guys remember, just kind of gives you a good idea, roadmap of sustainability items to kind of keep the village on track, and it sounds like a good idea. It doesn't cost us anything, so that will be on the omnibus unless there's any questions. Good. And then second, we got the grant for the Safe Walks to School program for $75,000, and we rewarded, we went through the RFQ process, whatever, and then, I called the wrong thing. And we have, our Tesco is here to talk about the summary of what they came up with.
Thanks, Trustee Bacon. It's actually Epstein is the.
Oh, Epstein, sorry.
It's okay. We have lots of
I was like trying
consultants.
to find it in my notes, but I couldn't get there fast enough.
Yeah. And this is Stephanie Napa. Stephanie's joining us from Epstein, and so she's going to provide a presentation of the final Safe Routes to School plan. So take it away, Stephanie.
Thank you. So this is working?
Yes.
Sorry? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Turn this on as well.
All right, that is also working. Hello, I'm Steph Napa. I'm a senior transportation planner at Epstein, though we do work with Tesco sometimes. We're all friends. So I'm here to present the Western Springs Safe Safe Travel to School plan. As was mentioned, this was funded through an Illinois Department of Transportation Safe Routes to School program planning grant. So we were selected by Western Springs as the consultant to lead this project. And so, yeah, I'm going to go over the public engagement that we did, kind of an overview of our process, the recommendations, talk a little bit about some exciting, for me, infrastructure ideas, a couple other policies and programs that can kind of support these infrastructure improvements, and kind of what the next steps are. So starting off, the goal of this plan was to create a network of connected bicycle and pedestrian facilities for Western Springs that can support the walking and biking of students and families to schools. But I mean, it also supports access to parks and other community destinations. Already discussed that IDOT was the funding source for this project. And to go through our process, it all started out with an existing conditions analysis. So we did a deep dive on the crash data, looked at kind of the existing infrastructure conditions, took a look at where all the school kind of catchment zones were, and then identified which barriers students might have to cross in order to access their school. And so putting all that together, we then reached out to the schools to do site visits or walk audits. So we met with each of the public elementary schools that serve Western Springs students. And since Highlands Elementary and Middle School were together, they were together in one walk audit. These included either the school staff or superintendents for the school district, as well as in some cases, some PTO moms joined us to walk around the neighborhood, point out the locations that they have identified safety concerns or had noted some issues in the past. And so that was really helpful for us to get on the ground look at what is going on. We did a lot more community engagement, and I'll get into that on the next two slides. But a lot of this program was directed by the steering committee. So we met 3 times. That included a lot of the Western Springs staff, some school staff. It included some particularly engaged community members and a couple other jurisdictional partners around the region. All of that kind of developed into the infrastructure recommendations and, like I said, a few other policy and program ideas. That was all reviewed by the steering committee at our last meeting at the end of last year, resulting in this draft plan, which you have had in your packet to review, and I would love if you adopt it when it's all ready. But if there's any changes that you want us to make, any improvements that you see, happy to make those before it's finalized. The next 2 slides are pulled directly from the plan document. So these are our engagement overview. It really just gives a high-level look of what all we did to reach out to the community and kind of get their input on how they want to see this plan developed. Throughout the process, we had several online engagement opportunities. So we had 2 public surveys and an interactive map where people could go in and place points on the map where they wanted to recommend improvements. We came to 2 different community events. So we came to the Touch a Truck event and Gathering on the Green. We kind of set up a table there, talked with people about the issue areas that they see. In the second one at Gathering on the Green, we talked about some infrastructure ideas and kind of gauged their community interest in seeing those in Western Springs. And we also did, at the end of the project, a walk and bike to school day in partnership with McClure. That was very fun. So we had about 30 students participate in that. Throughout all the engagement activities, we had over 80 comments or touch points or points on the map, or not 80, 800. Sorry, that's a much bigger number. And much more impressive. We were very, very happy to see that amount of input from Western Springs. It shows that the community is really interested in this work and seeing this project move forward, which is very exciting for us. We also, kind of in this engagement overview, pulled out some high-level takeaways or some individual survey responses that we thought represented kind of the overall tone of what people were requesting. There was a lot of interest in sidewalk infill, so filling in the little gaps in the sidewalk network to make a fully connected network down one of the blocks. And there was also a lot of reference to the busier streets in the community, so 47th and Wolf Road were common topics. Obviously, those are not under the village's jurisdiction. Those are under the jurisdiction of either the state or the county, and so those are more collaboration opportunities, but we do have recommendations on their network, especially on 47th. There's a project ongoing or in the works with IDOT to make some improvements on 47th, and so we have some crossing improvements at a few locations that hopefully this plan can encourage IDOT to incorporate. I do want to give a quick overview of some of the infrastructure ideas that we're talking about, just so we're kind of all on the same page as what these are and what they look like. So we're talking about including some more rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or RRFBs. This example on the left, if I can get, maybe this will work. The clickers sometimes are, or that's all right. I'm not gonna be able to use the laser pointer. But on the left is a example from Wolf Road at 59th. This is a crossing to access the Highlands School campus. There's an existing RRFB there. We are recommending a small improvement to this location and then some more of these in locations across the community. We're also recommending some more raised crosswalks. You have a really nice example of the one that was just installed in front of the metro station, and so we have a couple more ideas for places to put those. We also would like to recommend curb bump outs. So this example from Oak Park on the bottom left is a temporary version. We call it a paint and post bump out. It's a nice way to kind of test out the idea before installing it with permanent concrete. And these really just help increase the visibility of the crossing, slow vehicle speeds, and particularly for some locations in Western Springs, which I'll talk about when we get into the map. They prevent vehicles from parking too close to the intersection, so it makes the sight lines around the whole intersection a lot better for everybody. We're also recommending a full network of neighborhood greenways, and these are residential streets that can be alternatives to the busier roads for people to bike on. They can be enhanced with some street markings like the Sharrow in this picture, some crossing improvements, signage, just ways to say, this is a street that people are supposed to bike on, and we're encouraging, doing things to encourage slow vehicle speeds and low traffic volumes on those. We have a couple more enhanced crossing ideas. So the pedestrian hybrid beacon on the left is basically an even fancier RRFB. Instead of the flashing yellow, it's like an actual stop signal, so it gets better compliance from drivers stopping on really busy roadways. And then the pedestrian refuge island is the improvement I was talking about at the location on Wolf and 59th. There's a really nice spot there with plenty of space for this little mid-street kind of refuge point. So as a pedestrian is crossing, they only have to pay attention to traffic from one direction at a time. It makes it a little bit easier to cross wider roads. Okay, breath before we get into the map of it. It's easier to see in the plan when you can kind of zoom in on it and everything. But I do want to highlight that the sidewalk infill corridors that we have shown on this map are already in progress. Those are planned for design engineering this year. So this went to you all, I think, at the end of last year as part of your budgeting cycle. So these are locations where filling in gaps in the sidewalk, particularly in the Forest Hills and the Laidlaw neighborhoods. As I mentioned, we have kind of a full village-wide network of neighborhood greenways that we're recommending. The really nice thing about Western Springs is you do have a good grid system that provides options off of the main thoroughfares for people to get all the way through town on a nice, quiet residential street. So recommending those. And then we have 3 corridors that we're suggesting for those curb bump outs. 2 of them are on the neighborhood greenway network, and then the one in the northeast corner near McClure and Field Park, that is a direct recommendation out of the walk audit that we did there. A lot of the PTO moms that we talked with said that they feel really uncomfortable just with the amount of kind of vehicles and pedestrian and bicyclist activity, especially at school pickup and drop off, because there's a lot of locations where people are parking pretty close to the intersections, and it's hard to kind of see what's going on as you're approaching the crossing. We also have 7 raised crosswalks that we're recommending, and a couple of them are more in residential locations, particularly the sort of mid-block pedestrian path down in Forest Hills neighborhood. That's a really great community asset, and the raised crossings will just make sure that those crossing points are safer and vehicles are driving more slowly around them. We're recommending 3 new rectangular rapid flashing beacons and 3 pedestrian hybrid beacons. Those are on the 47th, 55th, and Wolf Road, so the busier state and county roads. So some coordination will have to happen to see those installed. And we have 2, I already referenced the pedestrian refuge island at Wolf and 59th. And then lastly, we have 2 improvements that can improve connectivity between the Commonwealth neighborhood and the Forest Hills neighborhood. One is a bike and pedestrian bridge that crosses Flag Creek at kind of the 51st place. That's lower priority because that is a fairly expensive compared to some of the other projects improvement. And maybe not necessary now due to the demographics of Commonwealth, but those could change, and it'd be nice to have that direct connection, especially so close to the school. And then one more that's much easier is a little sidewalk curb cut as Commonwealth Ave kind of curves towards 48th. There's a spot where the 48th Street cul-de-sac kind of ends, and it could connect to the sidewalk there. And we're just proposing a little curb cut to make that easier for pedestrians to kind of get through there. Aside from all the, for me, very fun infrastructure recommendations, we have a couple policy recommendations. So the first 2 are a Vision Zero and a Complete Streets policy. A lot of communities are starting to adopt these just sort of as ways to show support for walking and biking, give a little bit more teeth to the way that their public works departments can design their roadways. Vision Zero is a commitment to trying to achieve 0 traffic-related death or serious injuries within your jurisdiction. And so that's usually done through looking at safety improvements, following crash data, and also kind of prioritizing safety in traffic enforcement, so encouraging that everyone's driving the speed limit and that kind of thing. The Complete Streets policy is more on the kind of like design policies. It's, we have some example language in the appendix of our plan, but the Complete Streets policy says that as any new road projects are kind of up for construction, that they will take into account things that would allow access for all modes of transportation. Our traditional sort of engineering guidelines do prioritize vehicle movement over perhaps some of the safety and comfort of other modes of transportation, particularly people walking and biking. So the Complete Streets policy is kind of just saying, hey, we want to pay attention to that stuff too, as well as the engineering aspects that we need to think about. We're also suggesting that the sidewalk infill project we've already planned to and are moving forward this year. Those are a majority of the key sidewalk gaps that need to be filled, but there are still some gaps that exist particularly within a quarter mile of some of your schools. And so we recommend kind of authorizing Public Works to identify those ongoing in a similar way that Downers Grove does, but setting in policy that like, hey, we're going to, when a street meets XYZ credentials, that is the authority to move forward with a village-funded sidewalk construction that's outside of your current homeowner-initiated process. We also have some recommendations for the schools, not as much in your realm of purview, but certainly when we did the Walk and Bike to School Day and we had the police support and presence there was really nice for everyone getting there and making sure there wasn't any, there wasn't any issues with like speeding cars or anything, but it's nice to have that support to make sure everyone's getting to school safely on that day. So that's a way that you could support if the schools were to continue to do these Walk and Bike to School Days. We would encourage them to do that once a year. They're a really fun encouragement opportunity for students. There's also some great examples in the region of what's called a walking and biking school bus. Essentially, it's like a regular school bus where there's a route that it follows. It's just a parent or, in some cases, a school staff that volunteers to kind of lead the students along that route, and kids can join along the route if they want to. there's a really inspiring example from Naperville where one woman brings as many as 100 students by bike one Friday a month to their elementary school. So that's a very fun story, and we like to see kind of spread that idea throughout the region. I also bring up the bike safety education in PE classes because Ride Illinois, which is kind of the statewide cycling advocacy group, they have put out a really great educational tool called the Bike Safety Quiz that's meant for students, and they have little mini grants available for the school districts to kind of offset some of their teacher costs to administer that educational tool. That's something that we can share more information about if there's interest afterwards. So that was my quick run through. If there's any questions.
I thank you for taking, I'm sorry, I said the wrong company name.
That's okay.
But thank you for taking all the time
Yeah.
and meeting the schools and the people and the community and doing the walk to schools and the bike. You guys put a lot of work into this, and I think it's awesome. There's no motion or anything for this. This is just for discussion, for everyone to have the information, but if you have any questions.
Yeah, what, do we have any next steps specifically?
Yeah, so next steps would be a formal adoption of the plan. We didn't want to do that tonight. So
Right.
we certainly wanted you
Yeah.
all to have some time to look at it.
Right.
And then potential considerations of some of those other policy changes, the Vision Zero or the Complete Streets policy, which would come through with committee first to talk about what those look like. Same with any changes to our sidewalk policy. And then as for projects, we'll start looking at those projects for 2027. Although we are looking at the infill projects for 26 already, and those will be designed this year. So we'll have more to come probably in March, I would guess.
I really appreciate the results here too. I think we've needed this for a while, and it's very comprehensive, and I think it really addresses a lot of the resident concerns that I know I've heard over the 8 or so years that I have been around here. So it's really great to see it all put together, and with the kind of the rigor and the research and all of the background that went into it. So thank you very much for it.
Thanks, love to hear
Very
it.
helpful.
About how close to the 75,000 is all these projects?
So that was the money for just for this study.
For the consulting? Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, we had a cost estimate for not all the projects, but a good majority of them in a previous memo that we had sent.
Yes,
But-
yeah, and we have that information. We could certainly provide it.
I was gonna add, I wasn't really sure, like, was this only focused on people going to school, but it's more comprehensive for us all to be biking and walking. And I will say, I mean, my kids are older now, but like, I still don't trust them biking. I just feel like they're not paying attention, they're not aware, drivers are not paying attention, so I feel like that would be good to have a curriculum, and I don't know how to make our kids pay better attention on their bikes, but it was a constant frustration of mine. I didn't really trust them out there. I was like, you're not paying attention.
Yeah, the great but hard part about a bike is it is so accessible. Like,
Yeah.
it's great that everyone can use it, but also everyone can use it. And if you don't have the knowledge base, it is harder to learn that afterwards, or trust that they can all navigate with the same set of rules that the rest of us have when operating on the roadway.
Yes, but all of these changes will make it safer, so like, we wouldn't have to worry so much about them not paying attention.
I think they still have to pay attention.
I know they do, but it would make me feel better.
Right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, that concludes my report.
Okay, very good. Well, we will move on then to the consideration of an action on our agenda items. The Illinois state statutes allow a municipality to collectively vote on a group of ordinances, resolutions, and other motions, such as awards of contract, appointments, etc. This is known as an omnibus vote. All the items contained on the omnibus vote list have been previously discussed by the President and Board of Trustees on at least one occasion, and often on several occasions. By placing them on the omnibus vote list, a single vote may be taken to approve them. A trustee may remove any item from the list and have it discussed and voted on separately prior to the omnibus vote. Is there any such request on this omnibus list? All right, very good. Then Trustee Chen.
Thank you. President Rudolph, I move that the following ordinances, resolutions, and motions as contained on the meeting agenda for January 26, 2026 be adopted and/or approved under an omnibus vote. Item A, resolution number 26-2972, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a vendor contract for goods, supplies, and services between the Village of Western Springs and Tesca Associates, Inc. for the preparation of an update to the Village of Western Springs Comprehensive Plan. Item B, ordinance number 26-3307, an ordinance amending Title VI, Police Regulations, Chapter 2, Animals of the Western Springs Municipal Code related to residential honey beekeeping. Item C, ordinance number 26-3308, an ordinance amending Title 10, the Development Control Ordinance, Chapter 2, Definitions and Rules of Word Usage, Chapter 3, Administrative Bodies and Procedures, Chapter 4, Development Standards of General Applicability, Chapter 5, Zoning Districts, Chapter 7, Business District Regulations, Chapter 8, Plan Developments, and Appendix B, Gross Floor Area Supporting Documents of the Western Springs Municipal Code. Item D, resolution number 26-2973, a resolution approving the waiver of the competitive bid process in favor of the solicitation of competitive proposals and accepting and authorizing the execution of an agreement to be entered into between the Village of Western Springs and Wygen Water Technologies of Chaska, Minnesota, for the replacement of reverse osmosis membranes and authorizing the expenditure of village funds to pay for the services in the amount not to exceed $266,795.50. Item E, resolution number 26-2974, a resolution waiving the competitive bid process in favor of the solicitation of competitive proposals and authorizing the execution of an agreement to be entered into between the Village of Western Springs and Hawkins, Inc. Water Treatment Group of University Park, Illinois, for the supply and delivery of chemicals for the treatment of potable water and authorizing the expenditure of village funds in an amount not to exceed $325,000. Item F, a resolution number 26-2975, a resolution accepting the lowest cost qualified responsive bid, authorizing the execution of an agreement to be entered into between the Village of Western Springs and National Power Rodding Corp. Of Chicago, Illinois, for the 2026 catch basin and inlet cleaning services, and authorizing the expenditure of village funds to pay for the project in an amount not to exceed $200,000. Item G, resolution number 26-2976, a resolution approving the waiver of the competitive bidding process in lieu of purchase from a sole source provider and authorizing the approval and execution of a vendor contract to be entered into with Custom Filtration Solutions, LLC of Wheaton, Illinois, for the supply and delivery of pre-treatment cartridge membranes and authorizing the expenditure of village funds in an amount of $40,000. Item H, resolution number 26-2977, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of amendments to the joint agreement for the Southeast Association for Special Parks and Recreation, CSPAR. Item I, resolution number 26-2978, a resolution accepting the lowest cost qualified responsive bid and authorizing the execution of an agreement to be entered into between the Village of Western Springs and Advanced Tree Care of Lincolnshire, Illinois, for the 2026 tree inventory updates and authorizing the expenditure of village funds to pay for the project in an amount not to exceed $29,000. Item J, resolution number 26-2979, a resolution approving and endorsing the Metropolitan Mayor Caucus's Greenest Region Compact.
Thank you very much. And before I ask for a second, can we also include approval of the minutes from the January 12th, 2026 President and Board of Trustees meeting, please?
Yes.
Do it.
Trustee Chen, do you amend your motion?
Yes, I amend my motion to
Thank you.
include that.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have a second, please?
I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian?
Aye.
Trustee Chen?
Aye.
Trustee Fink?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Trustee Naraki?
Aye.
President Rudolph.
Aye.
The ordinances, resolutions, and motions contained in the agenda of January 26, 2026 are hereby adopted or approved.
Thank you very much. Okay, I don't think we have anything under new business, but we have we have 2 items under other business, and I believe I'm beginning with Trustee Fink.
Do we have discussion first? Or I just read the motion?
You read the motion into the record first, get a second, and then we can have any discussion.
Okay. Ordinance number 26-3309, an ordinance amending Title 10 Development Control Ordinance, Chapter 2 Definitions and Rules of Word Usage, and Chapter 7 Business District Regulations related to the medical cannabis of Western Springs Municipal Code.
And that's a motion to approve, correct?
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, then we need a second, please.
I'll second.
And now we'll have discussion. Yes?
Yep.
And we have a presentation, or?
Is there anything more you'd like to include, Director Ballone?
No additional information. Again, provided from last meeting was maps for your review on the dais.
I'd like to follow up on an item from last meeting before we go ahead. There was a couple of questions posed very thoughtfully by Trustee Naraki that we followed up on after the meeting and discussed in a little bit more detail. I have 2 kind of avenues of input. One is procedural and one is practical. So the procedural part is that this was an ordinance that was went through the public hearing process at Plan Commission before being forwarded to committee and then forwarded to us. So that means that there was a legal public notice that was published. And so we have to be conscious to stay within the bounds of what was publicly noticed in terms of proceeding forward. So the public notice that was issued anticipated that this would be a zoning, a use ordinance essentially, that follows kind of the pattern of our existing uses in terms of assigning districts and then making regulations to that use. So that leads me kind of into the practical consideration which was suggested that if there would be an opportunity to limit this use to the downtown area and exclude in some way the area in the strip mall along 55th and Wolf. And although we kind of looked at that, there's no way to adjust the buffer because the use ordinance depends on having a use in a particular zoning district and then applying a buffer from schools, churches, and other sensitive uses, daycares, count as schools. So there's no way to adjust the buffer to exclude the 55th and Wolf intersection, but include the downtown. It's not an either or, it's sort of a this and or just this. So if that's clear to everybody, but those were the comments that I kind of wanted to follow up on.
Okay. And Director Vallone, can we just go back over just even the reason we're looking at this and the high level that you had informed all of us about in terms of just how this began, just reiterate please just the timeline and why we're even discussing this.
Absolutely. So in 2014, the state passed a Medical Cannabis Act that required all non-home rule municipalities to provide, to allow for medical cannabis retail establishments somewhere. And then, as most are familiar, in 2019, some legislation was passed that went into effect in 2020 that allowed for recreational cannabis. So prior to that 2020 adoption, there were about 55 medical-only dispensaries within the state of Illinois. Post-adoption in 2020, all 55 medical dispensaries were converted into licenses that were medical but also allowed for recreational sale. So this changed the law, but did not exclude municipalities from still having to have the option for someone to open a medical cannabis dispensary. So since that adoption of the legislation that went into effect in 2020, no new medical licenses have been issued in the state of Illinois. And additionally, there are no medical-only dispensaries in the state of Illinois currently, as all of the medical dispensaries are now medical and recreational cannabis. So we're here because there was a pause put on these regulations, and we are now revisiting this to address it more clearly in our code, and additionally to more clearly indicate that recreational cannabis is not permitted.
Thank you, that's helpful. Trustee Fink or Vicky?
Yeah, no, we talked about this at our committee, and yeah, we saw it as a good way to, like, we like the idea of both.
Okay.
Both sites.
Okay. Other discussion? I know we had some good discussion at the last meeting too. Again, recognizing that the probability of this is very, very minimal. And if there were some establishment that were interested in pursuing a medical-only cannabis dispensary too, then what would be the process that organization would have to?
Absolutely. So as proposed in the ordinance that you have, it would be a conditional use in our C1, our C2, and our office districts. So a conditional use requires a public hearing conducted by the Plan Commission and review of the Plan Commission for consistency with the standards that are also proposed in your ordinance tonight specific to medical cannabis, as well as conditional use standards that are in the village's code. That would again go to Plan Commission, be reviewed by Plan Commission. They would provide a recommendation related to that. That recommendation would be forwarded to committee and ultimately to village board to make a decision. And just to clarify, public notice would mean that any property within 250 feet of that property that was seeking the conditional use would receive a letter or notification or be able to see a public notice sign from the right-of-way.
So in other words, this would not be a permitted use in any case. Nobody could just kind of move in and open this kind of establishment without going through a full individualized hearing process for that use.
Okay, yep, thank you.
And then additionally, as indicated, there are standards for the medical cannabis that they have to blend with the existing area. They cannot have paraphernalia and some of those other locational standards that are listed in your ordinance.
Okay, okay. Other questions, discussion? Again, this is kind of procedural to make sure we are in compliance with the state requirements. But again, there are 0 medical-only such locations in the state. Okay, okay. I think the process has been a sound process in terms of what's been followed to get to these locations. Any further discussion? Okay, very good. So you made a motion and we have had a second, right? Okay, then we move on to roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Chen?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Trustee Naraki?
Aye.
Trustee Avakian?
Aye.
Trustee Fink?
Aye.
All right.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to the next item. I think Trustee Lewis.
I move to approve ordinance number 26-3311, an ordinance authorizing the Village of Western Springs, Cook County, to borrow funds from the Public Water Supply Loan Program of the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency for the completion of the replacement of 47 residential lead service lines within the Village of Western Springs.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
This is something we've talked about. We've
Yes.
done before, right?
I'll just give an update on what this is. So in your packet this evening is an ordinance, it's a revised ordinance from one that the village board passed back in November. The IEPA asked us to resubmit the ordinance because the one that we passed in November had an IEPA loan number that was on the intended use plan that was published back in July. That loan number is incorrect. So the number that they gave to us from the IEPA said that is not the loan number. We have to redo the ordinance. It's part of a scrivener's error, really more than anything else, but we do have to republish the ordinance as part of the process.
Thank you.
That's helpful. Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, very good. May we have a roll call vote on this, please?
Yes. Trustee Avakian?
Aye.
Trustee Chen?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Trustee Naraki?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
President Rudolph?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our reports, the monthly financial report. Trustee Martin?
Yes, you received both of the November and December 2025 financial reports as presented by Director Mastodona. I'm going to make a motion to approve them as presented. And, but first I'd like to just, can I do this, the motion and then do the report?
Yes.
I want to point out a couple items. Number one is you're aware of our reserve policy, that we save about 4 months or about a third of our operating expenses in a reserve account for cash flow reasons, right, for financial consideration and management. One of the things that staff has acknowledged is we've hit on those reserves quite a few times, not the least of which is because of the disbursements from the state of Illinois of our property taxes. So, Cook County. So we have property taxes that were due December 15th that we haven't gotten. They were supposed to be available in September, but the issues at the county are still delaying the tax bills going out, so the county's still dealing with those issues. We are waiting about $3 million still from the county, and the village and staff was able to maintain operations because of the reserve fund. So one of the things that we're going to be looking at with staff is whether or not that reserve has to go up because of the number of times it's been hit on, and not just from the cash flow coming from property tax timing. If Director Mastrandano, you want to comment on anything on that topic?
Yes, yeah, just to clarify one thing, our reserve policy is the 33%. We did not have to touch that 33% since we have been above it in recent years. Our last audit, I think we were about 58% of expenditures. So we did not ever dip below the 33%. But yeah, we have historically, in recent years, starting to have to kind of touch our reserves more and more to maintain operations, just due to the timing of cash flow. We had the delay due to the pandemic, now this technology issue. So we continue to review our policies and kind of update them for financial sustainability.
So you may hear that from a policy perspective coming back, just because of the observations of everyday management. It is audit season, so everyone put good thoughts out for John and his team. We're going to be spending a lot of time on the audit, and that audit will be done and ready for us to review in the summer of this year. A couple of the funds to comment on: water and sewer consumption was billed for the year about almost 7% higher than 2024. And then, as you probably know, the police pension fund remains a significant portion of where our property tax increases are going. We have a nice, healthy balance of roughly $22 million invested to supporting our obligations against that fund. And we love a great, strong market that is continuing to pay us money on that $22 million. So hope for a continued strong market as well. So now I will make a motion to approve the November and December financials as presented.
Can we have a second, please?
I second the motion to approve the November and December 2025 financial reports as presented.
Thank you very much. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right. I don't have a report, but I do want to once again shout out to our municipal services and engineering and everyone who is addressing these water main breaks in this extreme cold. Nobody wants to be outside even to walk their dog, speaking personally. And I'm sorry when I see the water main breaks, knowing that the folks that are already working long hours on all of our regular, normal work are also out dealing with these water main breaks. So I just want to offer my appreciation and thanks to all the work that is being done. Whenever I see the notice on my phone, I'm thinking about who's getting out and into the street on those. So thank you for that. Village Manager Bear.
Yes, thank you. I just have two short items. One is that the mobile emissions testing is back in Western Springs this week through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily in the Recreation Center parking lot. Appointments are not required for the emissions testing here. However, your vehicle must be eligible to receive the testing. So if you've received a postcard, I hope that you'll take advantage of the fact that along with Senator Susie Glowiak Hilton's office, our folks have been working to have this mobile site available to the to the community and to visitors.
I did it this morning. It was awesome.
You did it this
Fantastic.
morning?
In and out. It was
I was there
awesome.
this afternoon.
I didn't have to drive to wherever I was. They were very nice. It was
Yes,
awesome.
It was very friendly.
Fantastic. I'm so excited to hear that. Casey will
Yeah, it
pass
was
that
good to go,
along.
too, Because it was so cold. I don't think it was like 2 cars.
Okay, and then the second item I have is that the members of the police department have been working with neighboring communities and our residents to educate them about phone scams. There's been quite a bit of activity in our region, and these phone scams are very real. They are everything from stating that they're from your bank to the government to other agencies that some urgency to get them some money, and people have had the misfortune of being taken by some of these scammers. So I would just ask Sergeant Madler to maybe give you a quick summary of some of the things that they're working on right now.
Yeah, like you said, in the last 2 weeks, we've had an uprise in elderly phone scams. So we're going to be conducting some training for the seniors at the Senior Center on March 5th. Our detectives will go out with our social workers. We'll do some awareness training, what to look for, signs of possibly being scammed. I think it's a great training because this is, with technology and AI and everything that's going on in the world now, it's very easy to get scammed, especially if you're an elderly person. So along with the social workers, you know, while they're there, they can also speak to the elderly and the seniors and see if there's other issues that they might be able to help them with. So it's going to be a double-edged sword when we go in there. So we're also going to reach out to the churches. They have senior groups. There's gardening groups. There's other senior groups that we can reach out to. We just want to get the word out. We've posted stuff on Facebook. We've done things through the Ring app. We've gone to the banks and put flyers out. So we're trying to get the message out to as many people as we can. And it's actually open to anybody that wants to go, not just the seniors. So.
Just going to chime in. My folks live in town, and they've gotten creepy calls of AI pretending to be their grandchildren, asking for money.
Yeah.
And it's the complication of the ruse is really impressive. It is a full experience, as they told me, to be on the receiving end of something so impassioned and personal. And so I don't know if it's always an institution. They at least have got it also on the personal front.
Yeah, we've been seeing that as well.
I think the flyers make a lot of sense. Do we have some flyers, like even just up in some of our businesses where just like
We do,
Casey's or
actually.
Yeah, we've
True
passed them
Value?
out to the banks. I know we've gone to some businesses as
Okay.
well. We're trying to just spread the word as much as
Yeah.
we can, so.
Yeah, great.
And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
All right, Village Attorney Skrotsky.
Thank you. I do have a report tonight. I wanted to report to everybody that recently I met with probably a couple dozen of the staff members here to sort of give a workshop refresher on contracting and municipal procurement. So we talked about forming contracts, contract authorization, some of the pitfalls that can come about in entering into contracts and negotiating contracts with vendors, and also the special responsibilities that come with the transparency requirements and the authority requirements of municipal contracting in particular. So although this is a topic that really excites me and I can spend plenty of time talking about it, I just want to thank staff for their patience and participation, because we did go several hours, and just say that it's really nice to have a lot of people who are interested in learning more about the process, so that from top to bottom we don't have any hiccups in terms of getting the village the items that they need, the items and services, I should say, that they need. And that's it. Thank you.
That's great. No, thank you. I think as a board, I think we greatly appreciate you helping with that, as well as everyone's attention to it, because yes, contracts can be a bit dense, yes. So that's much appreciated. Thank you. All right, unless there is anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very good. We're adjourned.
Okay, yes.
Did they get to escape?